Welcome to Tarot to a T. Today's reading is going to be for Sagittarius for February 2022. What I usually do is I have 3 cards to start off with. First card will represent a recent past. Second card will represent a current situation or reality that you find yourself in at the moment. And the last card will represent a future potential outcome. Of course, nothing is set in stone. We all have free will. But this will kind of give you an idea, for some of you, whoever this resonates with, of what you can expect in the coming week or so. Okay? And this is for February 2022 for Sagittarius. This is our past, this is our present, and this is our future. And for the past, you have a 10 of clubs, and I love that card. And I'll explain that in a second. For your present situation, I have a king of diamonds. And for your future potential outcome, we have a 7 of spades. Now 10s, honestly, are good upon themselves, but 10 of clubs especially, it is a messenger of good news. So in your recent past, and I don't put timestamps on these as in, the last couple of weeks, but it could even stretch back for a couple months. You received some kind of good news. It also involves travel. So perhaps the good news was that you're going on a trip. Some kind of travel is required for a positive, happy reason. I'm going to get a clarifying card for that, just so we can see a little bit more about what's going on with Sagittarius in this happy travel. Five of Hearts. Nice. Hearts are feel-good cards because they deal with the soul and the spirit. It does represent changes in this case because of it being a 5. But I don't sense a negative change. Matter of fact, with the hearts, this 10 is interesting. Sorry, I was spacing out there for a second. But this is interesting because this is a change in like a location. Like you could be moving because you're getting married and you're moving in with someone. Or you could be going off to college. So it still involves travel. But there's definitely some changes connected to this message that you received. Or perhaps it was some kind of decision that was made. For those of you connected to the military, it could be a deployment, a new assignment, that kind of thing. Let's get one more card for that. See if we can get some more details for you. Ten of spades. Now again, I like 10s. Sometimes they can be not so positive, but 10s generally denote a end of cycle. And in this case, we're looking at I would say in this case there's a fear of the change coming up. It can mean bad news, but that would be kind of silly if we had a card representing good news and then we had a card representing bad news. That kind of leaves you in a very neutral situation. So in this case, I'm kind of picking up that this is the fear of the change. Wow, it could even be the deployment scenario. Um, the military, while it's a very noble endeavor and career to go into, certainly with its perks and, you know, sense of ownership and pride, it can also be very dangerous. And maybe you're afraid for yourself, or you have family that's afraid for you, or a spouse, or maybe you're a parent and this is a child that's going off overseas. Hmm. In the present situation, though, um, kings represent, usually they represent a person, but they don't necessarily. It could be just the energy of the person. And kings are usually male, or a person who represents male energy. I'm not gender specific here, so take it how it resonates with you or applies. With the diamonds, though, we're looking at somebody with a keen business sense. Um, Diamonds, if you look at traditional tarot cards, are kind of like pentacles. So it has very much to do with financial stability, success, that sort of thing. A king represents an older male, or more older male energy, as an authority figure. I'm trying to get it out. Sorry, I was kind of stumbling over my words, but it is an older male representing some kind of authority. They're very keen. They're smart. They're very perceptive. Let's get a clarifier in that. Because for a current situation, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense without some clarification there. What's going on with that king? Okay. Three of spades. Okay. Now the threes, again, represent a completion of some sort. So maybe there was a deployment or some kind of need for someone being sent away, and that's over. That's like happened. I'm going to say that this king definitely represents a person. You know, not just men go off in the military. It could be a wife who was deployed. And the three of spades here is representing some stress and worry. Sometimes it can involve work, but let's say you're standing on the outside looking at somebody else and their work, and they work for the military, and there's a deployment, then it still relates to work, but it kind of in an indirect way. That's kind of interesting. I'm going to ask for one more clarifier, though. What's going on with Sagittarius at the moment? With this male energy or authority figure and some worry. It's never good to be worried. Four diamonds, okay. You know, four diamonds is our windfall card. How would that relate to this? If I had to... Oh... Again, if we're talking with the theme of somebody being deployed, possibly for their work situation. It doesn't have to be military. It just seems to fit here. You know, I know that people in the military or work for the federal government can make very good money. I would say that this four diamonds represents that. So going overseas, for example, I actually had a relative years ago who went overseas on his last mission, per se, and after that he was able to retire. It was a big payoff. That could be what's happening here. There was some kind of deal that was struck that, hey, if you do this for us, you spend a few months or a year or so over in this area. It doesn't have to be overseas, but when you come back, you have it made. You know, you've done your duty, and we'll take care of you. That's interesting, though. It all fits together, though, because there's still this element of worry. That's why I'm leaning towards like a military deployment, for sure. The Seven of Spades, looking into the future here. It can be, how do I say this? The seven is like it can be a general experience card. Life is experience, and what you go through is experience, obviously. So I don't mean to sound redundant, but it kind of speaks about, there's schools of thought that emphasize that life is about experiences and learning. Okay, so if we put it kind of in that perspective, the spades is talking about separation. Sometimes this can be emotional separation, like somebody hiding something from you, and the fact that it's uncovered, you realize you're not as close to this person, for example. In this situation, I would not say that. I would say this is more about a physical separation and an experience of that. Because we definitely have travel. Okay, let's get a clarifier here for this possible outcome for Sagittarius in February 2022. Five of Clubs. Again, we have changes. We talked about changes here with the hearts. This change, just to kind of recap on that, was talking about the going away from home. This change, this is about a change in lifestyle. How this ties in with the 7, though. Give me just a second here, because we have the separation. Obviously, there's a change in lifestyle, but it's also it's an indicator that there's a need for a major change. Since we were talking about worry over here, maybe there needs to be a different perspective so that the person being left behind is not worrying, or perhaps how they deal with the stress. So maybe there's some negative behaviors going on, like overindulging in drinking or eating too much, or obsessing about what's going on, and therefore kind of having a mental breakdown. Although it's not quite, the 5 of Clubs is not quite that severe. So I'm going to ask for a clarifier on that. Oh, 6 of Clubs. Funny. But not really out of scope here. This is about an open road, a pathway being opened. Perhaps, changes. The road is open for change. A change in lifestyle. Because that definitely came to me, like a change in lifestyle. that we just maybe need to just live a little differently, or our mindset. I went through something like this myself recently where I just had to kind of buck up and change my mindset about things. Wake up call, right? But sometimes you just need to do it instead of just thinking about doing it, which procrastination comes into play. With the 6 and the pushing ahead and just kind of getting through it, we have the potential for happiness because we are pushing through. I would just say this is probably a little bit of a warning about how the stress or the worry is being handled. And a change in lifestyle. Because if somebody was deployed, obviously they're still deployed, and this isn't wrapping up in, a few weeks. I don't get the sense that this is like off in the future, like months down the road. I think this is sooner than that. That's why I say, okay, however the person being left behind or the family being left behind is handling things, I think the message here is to kind of take a look at that and see what you can do to push ahead. I'm going to leave it there, Sagittarius, because it's not an overly exuberant, happy reading, but it's also not particularly negative. It's actually a very clear message, a very clear advice that we're looking at. That's nice, actually. In case you were wondering, and these things were heavy on your mind, hopefully that will help you. Thanks for joining me today. I will see you again in a couple weeks. Take care.